Hello guys and girls, my name is U-Tum. Welcome back to the the next part of our top blank in league format. Today we're diving into tier 2. Next time we'll be diving into tier 3, and I apologize in advance for this one if it took a bit while to get this one out. Just been pretty busy lately and I haven't had time to do the layup. But let's dive right into this, into number 10. So number 10 we have Milotic. Personal favorite of mine. Everybody knows what Milotic does. Great special defensive wall. And not only that, it's really good on the defensive department because of Marvel Scale. A common set in league format is Flame Orb, Marvel Scale. Marvel Scale, of course, gives you the boost when you are status, which Flame Orb will do that for you. Milotic is one of the best bulky water types you can pick up in league format. Of course, it has competition with like a Alomomola and Vaporeon, but Milotic also has a little bit of offense behind it. Unlike Vaporeon and Alomomola, with the 100 special attack, it's not like terrible, but it's not bad either. Scald will hit decently hard on this, and if you want to go ahead and run competitive and get a special attack boost, then your Scalds are going to be hit pretty hard. By Milotic, it's pretty self-explanatory what it does. Very bulky, personal favorite Pokemon of mine. One of my favorite bulky water types. But let's move into number 9 with Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss is one of the best bulky grass type you can grab. We got bulky Pokemon back to back. Amoonguss is very bulky with its 104 HP stat. Amoonguss, like Milotic's case, you know what it does. Spore, Giga Drain, Clear Smog, Foul Play. There's not a lot that Amoonguss can do, but it's very good at what it does, and the regenerative ability helps it a lot do that. You can switch out and not have to worry about losing your health. And it gets reliable recovery with Synthesis as well, which is very nice. If it got Leech Seed, oof, that'd be pretty OP. But yeah, there's really not much to Amoonguss. It's self-explanatory what it does. It's just really nice, good support mon, very bulky, and a good typing as well. So moving into number 8, we have Cobalion. Now, one of the real downsides to Cobalion is it's very lackluster on the offensive department with 90 attack and 90 special attack, which is why it's oftentimes forced to run Swords Dance most of the time. But with Z moves now being a thing, Cobalion benefits from that very well, and it now gets it now can hit really hard. 129 defense on it is also very nice, and the 108 speed allows it to be a very good Scarf Pokemon with the access to Volt Switch as well, so it can pivot, which is very cool. And it also gets Stealth Rocks. This thing has the also ability to run Double Dance with Sword Stance and Rock Polish, which is a common set on this thing, but most of the time you will be seeing this thing Choice Scarf as a Rock set or Support Mon, or a Double Dance set. Moving into number 7, we have Nidoking. Nidoking is one of the best wall breakers you can pick up in league format. Just because of Sheer Force. Sheer Force helps this thing out so much. It hits incredibly hard. Sludge Wave, Earth Power. Oof, not a lot switches in on this. Nidoking is just overall such a very strong Pokemon. 85 speed is not the best, but it's pretty good with the Scarf. But most of the time you're going to be using this thing with the Life Orb, Sheer Force, and nuke something with all the moves you get. Nidoking is really nice as well with all the coverage it gets. Ice Beam, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, just to name a few. It also gets some cool stuff like Dragon Pulse if you ever want to run that. But Nidoking, it's very hard to switch into, especially if your opponent is running the Life Orb set, because then they are not locked into any move. So moving into number 6, we have Darmanitan. Darmanitan is one of the best wall breakers as well in league format. One of the real downsides to Darmanitan though is that it's oftentimes forced to run Scarf, because it'll just get revenge killed by a lot of things without it. But you can't sleep on Darmanitan as well. You kind of have to put this thing in your list because it's so good, incredibly powerful. It's another Sheer Force mon like Nidoking, but this one hits extremely more harder with the Sheer Force, Life Orb, Flare Blitz. Oh man, that hits incredibly hard. And it also gets pivoting options with U-Turn, Earthquake as well to hit everything in between. Rock Slide is nice, of course, as well. But honestly, this thing is very powerful. Super bulky water types like Alomomola, Milotic, Suicune, Vaporeon can give this thing a little bit of trouble because it doesn't really have the coverage to hit them. But Earthquake will hit hard on most of them. You just gotta watch out for Darmanitan and Speed Stat. Pairing this thing with Webs would be very nice for you. So moving to the top 5, we have Mimikyu. Mimikyu's on this list surely because of its ability in Disguise. It's incredibly useful with that ability. Because of that, it's one of the best sweepers in League format. You get a free turn every single time, and it sure only has base 90 attack, but this thing has Swords Dance options as well. This thing is also very popular with Mimikyu, Z-Move, Mimium Z, and also just entirely popular with Ghostium Z. And it has a pretty good special defense with 105, decent speed with 96, but to make up for your mediocre speed stat or okay speed stat, this thing does get Shadow Sneak, which is stab, and after +2, Shadow Sneak will hit very hard on this thing. But yeah, Mimikyu is here because it's very useful with its ability. But yeah, moving into number 4, now we have Arcanine. Arcanine is one of the few bulky fire types that do its job very well. But Arcanine it's such a versatile Pokemon. It can be ran offensively and defensively. Intimidate helps this thing a lot in being on the defensive side. Flash Fire is also useful. Let's say this thing is paired up with a Ferrothorn, then a Flash Fire is going to be pretty nice on Arcanine. But like I said, this thing can be very offensive as well with like Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Close Combat, Wild Charge, and then like Choice Band of Life Orb to hit extremely hard. It's got base 1 in 10 attack, which is not bad. So unlike most bulky walls, Arcanine has some offense to back it up as well. It can also be ran specially offensive with like Flamethrower, Fire Blast, etc. One of the few downsides to Arcanine, like most fire types, is that it gets worn down easily by Stealth Rocks, especially your fire type that likes to click Flare Blitz, like Darmanitan earlier. Arcanine and Darmanitan will get worn down fairly easily with Flare Blitz plus Stealth Rocks, so getting good hazard removal with both of those Pokemon is very useful. Now, at number 3, we have Scizor. Scizor is very good. Sure, being ×4 weak to fire is a huge downside to this, but it's very easy to fix with like a good Flash Fire mon like Arcanine, like we said earlier, or just pairing this thing in Rain. But overall, Scizor just hits incredibly hard with the Technician. Bullet Punch hits so hard on this thing with Technician, especially if you get to +2. Oof, not a lot switches in on Scizor, and having the 130 attack on top of that is very nice, and it has very good bulk to make up for 100 defense, 80 special defense, and 70 HP. It's very good. It's a good U-turner as well. U-turn hits extremely hard on this as well with Technician, and it gets some support options like Roost and Defog. Scizor with Defog is pretty nice because it is not ×4, or not ×4, it is not. It won't take 25% from rocks, which is very useful in my opinion. I personally love Defoggers that aren't weak to rocks, and Scizor can do that very easily, but Scizor is also a sweeper with like Swords Dance. You can also run Knockoff, and if any Alolan Marowaks decide to run up on you, you can just run Knockoff for Pursuit. There's just a lot of things Scizor can do. It's such a helpful mon, incredibly useful. Like we said before, being ×4 weak to fire is not the best, but it's pretty patchable. And moving in to number 2, we have Mamoswine. We have Click Attacks and Wins over here. Mamoswine is probably the best wall breaker you can grab in Tier 2. Offensively, both of its stabs are incredibly hard to switch into. Icicle Crash and Earthquake are basically all this thing needs, especially, and Ice Shard. Anything else, really. But Mamoswine can also be a Stealth Rock Sash leader as well. Get your rocks up early on, and the Sash is helpful because of Mamoswine's poor defenses. It's got good HP with 110, but its defenses are just meh, and its speed is also meh, with just 80. Which is why Mamoswine is a pretty good Scarfer as well. But honestly, if you really want the most out of your Mamoswine, using a Choice Band or Life Orb is probably the best option because it's just going to hit incredibly hard. Mamoswine is one of those League format Pokemon that is incredibly hard to switch into. Very hard Pokemon to prep for. Not a lot likes to take this thing on. Just to name a few Pokemon that can deal with this thing easily. Rotom Wash and Rotom Heat. They can deal with this thing. If it has Thick Fat, Rotom Heat can't do much to it, but it resists both of its stabs and immune to 1. But Mamoswine also gets Knockoff as well, which is a very useful move to have. Knockoff being one of the best moves in the game, but yeah, it's just Mamoswine. Very hard Pokemon to switch into. At the number 1 spot, we get Suicune. Suicune is probably the best bulky water type you can grab. Some leagues even put this thing at Tier 1, but the majority will put this thing at Tier 2. Now, the really one downside to Suicune is it doesn't do much. You're basically going to be using Calm Mind and Scald every week. The last moves can really be whatever, maybe like Sub, Rest, Sleep Talk, Ice Beam. We have some options listed down here. There's just not much Suicune does, but The plus thing about Suicune is that it does its job very easily. Not very easily, very well. You got phenomenal defenses across the board with 115 defense, 115 special defense, and 100 HP. And this thing will be boosting its special defense with Calm Mind. Calm Mind is a very popular move on this thing. Suicune is one of those Pokemon you cannot let set up, or it will win. It will just stall you out and win. You know how amazing Suicune would be if it got like actual recover? I think it would be OU and a tier 1 Modern League format. But Suicune also has like cool options being physical. It gets extreme speed, Iron Head, Ice Fang, which is cool. Avalanche. So there's some cool stuff Suicune can do if you don't want to run the boring Suicune set. But one of the downsides to this is that its 90 special attack is not the best. You're really only going to be hitting hard once you get a few Calm Mind boosts. But that's fairly easy to boost up with Suicune because of how bulky it is. Not a lot. Basically, just any strong electric type will scare this out. Even some grass types. But most grass types are scared of Ice Beam on this thing anyway. Suicune has Beatty Ace 85 speed, which is very nice. He'll be outspeeding a lot of other walls. But yeah, that is really it, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys enjoyed this list, tell me what you guys think. Tell me what your top 10 Pokemon in Tier 2 are. And Tier 3, we'll be diving into that sometime, not sure when. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the button down below. I'm going to get the heck out of here. Hope you guys have a beautiful day.